good day to stay on. Now's your chance. Arsenal City!
Hey, what's going on, people? Jack Reeve, TalkNorwichCity here, checking in, reflecting on last weekend's game against Birmingham. Sadly, I couldn't make it. I was in Berlin scouting for the next Dennis Srbeny. Sadly, didn't find anyone quite as good as Dennis, who, by the way, had a decent game at the weekend. I'll get onto that in a moment. But I think we'll all take a point from Birmingham, won't we? And I think we would have taken a point whoever we played on the first game away from home. I think that first game is just coming through unscathed and hopefully not losing the match. Both of them we did, admittedly by the skin of our teeth, but at the end of the day we came out with a point. And I think on the whole, there's quite a few positives to take. I must admit, I looked at that starting lineup that Farke started with and I thought, I'm not overly sure that this is the right call. And I think Farke will probably admit, with hindsight now, that he maybe got the wrong call. I think to start with a midfield pairing of Alexander Tete and Tom Tribal, you could argue is pessimistic. You could argue is slightly strange, considering Tete played literally none of pre-season because he contracted chickenpox. So to throw him kind of in at the deep end on a big opening game was odd. I think Tete handled it well and he came through unscathed and shows what a good athlete he is. It also showed that midfield pairing certainly isn't the combative duo that you maybe want in an attacking kind of game when you're going out to win the match. However, I do admire Farke for kind of putting a bit of a solid base in there, because we know how the games at Millwall sort of away panned out last year, when teams are going slightly more direct, a bit of championship, nous about them, and they punished us. That wasn't to be at Birmingham. I thought we looked fairly solid throughout, and credit to Farke, when we did go behind and we did look slightly one-dimensional, we changed things. We brought on Mo Leitner, we brought on Kenny McLean, who I think we're really lucky to have, and that's a pairing we didn't have last season, and that's a pairing that will bring us more attacking prowess going forward. So I think Farke would have learnt a lot from that opening game, and I think he certainly developed as a manager in the past season. However, if we would have come out of that game losing 2-1, which we so nearly did, I would probably be sitting here on this park bench on a Wednesday morning with slightly differing views to what I have now. I think going forwards we looked a lot better. The movement impressed me. I think everyone just wanted to see slightly more high tempo football from what we saw last season. At times last season it was dour, wasn't it? And we certainly want better than that this season. Jordan Rhodes impressed me. I had reservations with him when we signed him. He hasn't really played much football for 2 seasons and hasn't really scored goals. However, his movement was good. Admittedly, didn't score and missed 2 decent chances. One of them was a good save. The other header he should be scoring. But it's the movement I'm more worried about at this stage. He hasn't played football in a while. He's had injuries. He hasn't played in a system that suited him at Sheffield Wednesday. The finishing will come, I'm sure, in a few games. He's a natural born scorer. It's the movement that impressed me, and when you've had such an overhaul in an attacking sense, with Pukki coming in, with Leitner coming in, with Rhodes coming in, Hernandez playing in a slightly different role, to have your players linking up in such a good fashion is pleasing, and I think we can certainly be hopeful, maybe a bit reserved, but hopeful going forwards. And of course, Dennis Srbeny, when he came on, really changed the game. Driving runs from deep from him. I've always thought I've seen something in Dennis Srbeny. I'm not sure what it is, and I'm certainly not saying that he should be a week in, week out starter for Norwich City. But there is something about him, and I think he brings something off the bench. And of course, the man that wrote the headlines, on Hernandez. We all knew he had something about him last season, the pace, the raw power, but he lacked final product last season. And when Yannick Vilskut scored for Bolton, I thought, here we go. We've released a winger who has something about him and have an on Hernandez who is very similar to Vilskut. But fair play to Hernandez, 2 goals in 7 minutes, one of them coming in the 94th minute. It's a fantastic start for him, and he's going to be pivotal in what we do this season. Keep him fit. And I think he'll worry defenders. I love how he gets in behind the defender. I love how he runs at defenders. He's an exciting player on Hernandez, and I think I'm excited for what he brings. As well as that, defensively, I mean, I didn't expect to be criticising Grant Hanley after the first game, but he was certainly at mistake for the second goal, completely lost in no man's land, and it was a good finish from the Birmingham striker. But I think that will come. He's hardly played pre-season. James Husband, look, I'm not his biggest fan. You all know that. I'm not going to bang on that drum anymore. Once Jamal Lewis comes back, he certainly goes in there for me, and if not, then Marco Stiepermann goes in. I don't think having James Husband in at left back is a good idea by any stretch of the imagination. Tim Krul impressed me. I think maybe at fault for the first goal. Admittedly, a great finish, but for me, coming to punch that corner was wrong. And I saw that in a few times against Charlton, actually very keen to get off his line and punch it, and a few times against Charlton it nearly didn't pay off when he was just punching it straight to a Charlton striker's feet on that day. This occasion, straight to a Birmingham striker's feet, and he finishes well. But on the whole, pleasing from Tim Krul. Looks like a nice addition to the squad, and certainly more convinced about that than I was at first. But on the whole, promising start. West Brom will be a very interesting encounter. It'll be very interesting to see what midfield duo Farke goes with. I hope he goes with one of Leitner and McLean. I really want to get at West Brom. They've had a tricky start, 1 point from 2 games, and haven't looked convincing at all. Admittedly, they've just added Dwight Gale to their ranks, who we all know from previous times, especially playing Newcastle, is a dangerous player, and I think I'm going to lump my life savings on FansBet for him to score at the weekend, and hopefully though we score more than West Brom. But a big game at the weekend, and hopefully a chance for Farke to prove some of his critics wrong, and get things right, because we need to do well at home at Carrow Road this season if we were to have any success this year. So on the whole though, good stuff. A big thanks to Connor and Chris who covered the game at the weekend. I'm going to be at West Brom, Stevenage, Sheffield United, Ipswich. I've got all my tickets sorted for the next coming month. So I'm buzzing. It's sure to be an exciting season, certainly an intriguing one. And I just hope we at least challenge for the top 6. See you on Saturday at Carrow Road. Let me know your thoughts. How are you feeling after that first game? Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye-bye.